Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Steven Inks, and in today's episode we are wrapping up my list of pens at a specific price point. We are focusing on everything over $40. The video is going to be titled over $50. There is one pen that is under that amount. The reason that I've chosen to put all these into one last video is because I don't actually own that many pens over $50. You can see a lot of my collection includes pens that are more budget friendly, and that's because I myself am required to be budget friendly as someone who is not full of cash. So this is the last of my pens at a high price point, and you're gonna see some things you've seen before. All of these pens are pens I've reviewed on this channel. Please check those videos out if you want more details about them. Without much further ado, let's get into today's list. Before we begin, I wanted to do a few honorable mentions. So I don't have a lot of pens in this high price category, as I mentioned before, but I did have a few that could have been in this list, and they weren't just because the other pens scored a little higher on my scoring rubric, and those pens are the Mahjong A1 and the TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR. Now the reason that the 580 ALR lost out to some other pens was mainly because this section has the sort of ribbed metal. It's really fine. I find this a little bit uncomfortable. It feels like I'm gonna cut my fingers on these sharp ridges. And it's a great pen, and there is a version that does not have, I think it's the Diamond 580 AL, and the ALR has this texture, but the AL doesn't. I think with that in mind, this would have made it onto the list. And the other one, the Mahjong A1, I don't know, I think it was just lacking in some other things. I think we lost out to comfort. Some people have mentioned that they don't like having to hold like this with the clip. There's a clipless version of this that might have made it a little bit higher, but it was very close with this one. So that's that. Let's get into our list. In fifth place, we have the Platinum Curidas. Now, the Curidas is a curious pen. Aesthetics may not be for everyone. I'll say this. The comfort is a 7. It's long enough, which is nice. This clip is not as pronounced as the Mahjong A1, and you can kind of avoid it if you prefer. So that kind of made it for me. It's a very smooth shape. You don't have a lot of textures bothering you here. As a matter of fact, you will find, since there's no threads because it doesn't post at all, it's not a capped pen, you avoid that problem altogether, which is kind of interesting. The build quality is fantastic. I don't know if we can see. I'm going to try and get a real good zoomed in version. When I push the button to pull the nib out, you can see how the mechanisms within it. It's a really fun pen to watch. When you push this button, it's called a knock, to push the nib out, and it works every time. So it's engineered really well. The plastic is quite strong and firm. So the build quality is quite high. I did give the flow and line quality an 8, even though I could give it a little bit lower, because really when you look at the pen, the quality of the pen line, it's a very good line for what it is, but it's so fine, and Platinum makes very fine nibbed pens. You're not going to really find more to do with it than just the very fine detailed lines. If you like that style, this is the perfect pen for you. If you want more variety to your lines, I mean, it doesn't even do reverse writing is the same as the forward writing. So if you like really fine lines, this is great. And if you don't like super fine lines, this one is going to be a pass for you. I do think, as far as the aesthetics, I did give it a lower score just because some people really hate this look. I think if you got a lot of pens and you have a lot of traditional looking pens, this could be more appealing to you. And it was to me at the time that I bought this. It was more then I had more than 50 pens at the time. So something special about this weird little shape. It looks like a syringe of some kind. So interesting pen. This is pen number 4. The fourth pen is the Pen BBS 456. There was another Pen BBS pen on the last video, and this is a beloved darling of the fountain pen community. There's plenty of videos, including 2 on my channel, about this particular pen and why it's so beloved. It was one of the first truly low-cost vacuum filling pens, under $50. This particular model I think is slightly over that amount, so it's usually hangs somewhere in the middle there. So for comfort, it gets a 7, just like the Curidas. It's quite comfortable. It's a little short uncapped, and you can cap it. It doesn't have a lot of capping issues. We're not really talking about posting because of the Curidas being a pen that doesn't post, so it's hard to compare. But you know, it's reasonably comfortable. There's a little bit of a step up between the threads here, which is not my favorite. We do have metal on plastic threads, excuse me. For the cap, you can see the threads in there. Those are plastic. These are metal. We all know, has been mentioned several times in this video series, that metal on plastic threads not the best. And also in the back, we have metal on plastic threads too, where the blind cap is. And you can even see, I'm not going to pull it up because there's ink inside, but you can see that white powder that I showed off in the last video that had the metal on plastic threads. I believe that was for the Asvine V126. You slowly grind away at those threads, and I've had this pen for several years. It still works quite well, but you never know if at some point it'll get something going on there. The build quality is a 7 for that. For some of the reasons that I mentioned, the plastic on metal threads are a minus. The beautiful finish is a plus. The metal hardware, the attached clip. This clip isn't going anywhere. It's quite sturdy and strong. The nib is a nice, what's it called? Waverly nib. Really good two-toned steel nib. Fine. It's really a joy to use. So for flow and line quality, we get a 9. This is my favorite type of nib to work with when I'm drawing or creating. It just feels like it can do more slightly squarish lines, and the ability to do reverse writing quite thin. Very comfortable, very smooth nib. As far as the aesthetics, it gets a 7. It depends on how you feel about it, but if you don't like this particular pen or the aesthetics of this particular pen, you can get this exact model in like 20, 30 different finishes. You just got to go to the Pen BBS Etsy store and you'll see the new ones as they come out. There's a rotation of new pen models constantly being updated, and you can find a finish that's really good for you. This pen in particular actually has gotten a lot of conversations started. People have mentioned that they really like it and how interesting it looks. It's stained a bit dark because I've been putting black ink in it for a while, but it was a bright color at the beginning of its life, and I still think it's a very attractive pen. So that's the Pen BBS 456. This is pen number 3. So we're going to call this third but kind of second place because the points are exactly the same, 32 out of 40 for this pen and the one I'm going to show you next. This is the Conklin All-American. This particular finish is called Yellowstone. It's gorgeous. I knew I wanted this finish the first time I saw it. So here's the pen, an extra fine Conklin nib. These nibs can be bought, the units can be bought separately, which is something I really like when a company does that because you can get the one that you like. You can get it gold tone, steel tone, black, extra fine all the way up to broad. And in fact, there's an Omniflex nib, which is something that I tried on this channel. I did not like it, but some people really do. As far as comfort, it gets a 7. We lose a little bit of comfort due to this step down right here. It does have some comfortable threads. We got plastic on plastic within the nib and the cap. The section and the cap, which is good. You don't get a lot of pens in this size, this kind of chunky size. So I'm posted you to get a long place to kind of like some variety to grip from. So you don't have to have your hands on that section if you prefer to hold it back here. So that's nice. Build quality is an 8. I love this finish. Conklin makes a bunch of other finishes. This is thick. You can see how thick the cap is, and the body has a nice thick acrylic to it. I think this could take a lot of damage and still do well. This is one of the only pens I own that has a threaded converter. So you actually untwist this. I'll do it even though it's full of ink, but you can see it. It's kind of interesting. It gets in there and it does not come loose. So here we go. I should note that this is unfortunately metal on plastic threads when it comes to the converter, but I believe you can get a regular converter into there, and also the converter itself is pretty cheap to replace, so it's not too bad if you do ruin that converter. The pen is still going to be okay. The line quality and the flow, this gets a 6. Not because it's bad, but mostly because it's just kind of plain and boring. This is an American company, Conklin, but general like European style fine or extra fine. This is an extra fine, but it looks like a fine because of how nib grinds are larger in Western countries. And it writes like a nail is the term that you hear all the time. That it doesn't have a lot of variety, so it's fine. It's not anything super exciting, but the exciting thing about this pen is how it looks and how it feels in your hand. Aesthetics, I gave it an 8. Not perfect, but I really love this finish. It's got some shimmer underneath the surface there. They call that chatoyance. Right here on this white part, you can really see some of that. And it just feels like it was made to be something quality. So I highly recommend this pen if you see it and you're interested in it and you like how it looks. The clip is kind of cool too. It bends in the back here, so it's meant to be a little bit flexible. You can clip it onto lots of things. Conklin is a classic company. It's been around for a very long time, long enough that Mark Twain used to use a Conklin as a writer. I believe that's true. It may be a rumor. You could let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but they have a pen that's named after him, which is kind of cool as well. So this is the Conklin All-American, one of my favorites. Now it's pen number 2. And then in third/second place, also tied with the All-American, is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. Now take a moment to recognize how crazy it is that a steel nib pen, for me, is rated the same as a true classic, beautifully designed pen with a gold nib, by the way, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. So the reason why it got the score that it got is, first of all, for comfort, it does get a 6, and the reason why is because just honestly, even with it capped, it's a very short pen. If you've got larger hands, this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. Not that it's disappointing in any way, it's totally worth it. Great nib, great look. I love that Sailor finial is beautiful. But yeah, it's a little bit on the small side. You do have a little bit of a step down here. The edge of the cap kind of does hit you right in that fleshy part of the hand if you're holding it the way that I am holding it, which is where I feel a lot of people do hold their pens this way, from what I've seen. Yeah, but the build quality is an 8. It's fantastic. It should be noted that the body of this pen feels no different at all from the Jinhao 82, which was on my pens under $10 video. So you aren't missing much getting an 82. You are missing out on this beautiful nib that does have qualities because of the gold nib that you won't get on the 82, but a lot of stuff you can get with that fantastic pen for, you know, a tenth of the price, which is crazy. You do have the O-ring right there, which is nice. And that gives the build quality an 8. I mean, you can look at this nib. Tell me that nib does not deserve an 8. It's a beautiful nib, and it writes beautifully too. I'm a sucker for that finial. The gold hardware looks so nice. It's a statement as well as a pen, and I'm not sure what that value is to you, but to me, if it also is a great pen, it's a very nice thing to see something that has a bit of style to it. Yeah, the flow, line quality, we get a 9. The aesthetics, of course, like I'm mentioning, I've been just gushing nonstop about how beautiful this pen is. It really is a beautiful pen with a very nice line quality. So that is my number 2 pick. Finally, my top pick, pen number 1. And number 1, the highest score out of all of the pens that I have. You've probably been wondering where this is on my list since we haven't seen it yet. This is the Platinum 3776 Century. Has a soft, fine nib. Let's have a look at a little bit of why I gave it this score. So I did give it a lower score for comfort because of this step down, and that doesn't bother a lot of people, but it does bother me because there is a little bit of a place where it's uncomfortable to hold, and it's right there. Further back, forward into the section, we're still good. The threads are not uncomfortable, so that's good. We have plastic on plastic threads, or I guess you could say resin on resin if you want to be pedantic about it, but it is a type of plastic. The pen is just long enough that you can use it uncapped. Capped, it does go deep in. We're not talking about posting in this video, as I've mentioned several times, but it does give you that length that you might need if you need it. The build quality is a 9. It's hard to explain. I understood the argument about plastics having different qualities. So this plastic feels much nicer than the plastic of a cheap pen, something, you know, in the $10 to $20 range. It feels different. It feels like warmer, smoother. It just feels like it's something stronger in your hand. So it's worth noting that even though this pen is it's a type of polymer, so it's a plastic essentially, it feels different. It feels better. The line quality, this is one of the best nibs that I own. You can see how pretty it is, and it's a soft, fine nib, so you push a little bit and you get a little bit more line weight, and so you can really get a nice range here if you're careful with the nib. And it is quite beautiful. So aesthetics for this one, it gets a 10. It is the prettiest pen that I own, and it's also one of the nicest writers. The only thing is it's so expensive that I'm scared to take it anywhere with me except from my pen box to my drawing table, which is a distance of about 4 feet. So that's the longest this pen has ever traveled, and it will remain as such because it's such an expensive pen, but also a pen that has a lot of value to me. So this is my number 1 pick, and we are drawing with this pen. So for my ink selection today, I didn't film actually putting the ink inside, which is something I normally do, so hopefully you'll forgive me, but it is Atramentis, I don't know. I know it's a German company, but sometimes other companies use words from different languages, and so is it French pronunciation? Is it German? I'm not 100% certain, but this is Document Urban Grey. Now, The reason why I chose it for this video is because as you build sophistication in your pen journey and you're being more discerning about what pen you want to buy, you might find that the bold colors of your pen journey youth no longer fit, and you want something useful, a little bit desaturated, or maybe even just a little bit more subtle. And Document Urban Grey, excuse me, is quite a subtle ink. It's almost looks like pencil, and the cool thing about it is it's waterproof. So if you are using your pens for watercolor drawings, this is a nice little way to add some line accent marks without having the boldness of a dark colored ink really take over focus from your drawing. So I love using this ink. I use it quite often, all the time in fact. It is the pick I have for pens at this price level. Not an inexpensive ink, but certainly worth it, and this bottle will last you for quite a long time.
To give you a little bit of idea behind the inspiration behind this piece, many long years ago when I started posting my art to social media, I had this bear character that was supposed to kind of represent me, and he was a quiet type, and I wrote a little children's book about him. It was kind of a way for me to deal with the depression that I was going through. So this character has like an emotional meaning to me. It kind of represents the part of me that sort of feels left out of social situations. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a friend on social media, someone I haven't seen in person in almost a decade, and it just occurred to me this idea that when that person lived near me, we should have hung out more. We just should have hung out a bunch of times, and it was really kind of stupid the number of times that we should have hung out and didn't. And so this is my character waiting for someone to call him in order to go and experience life rather than going and experiencing life himself. A pattern for me, I suppose. Maybe that's an overshare, but maybe you connect with that as well. Just keeping in mind also, I keep forgetting because I do a lot of testing of pens and things on this channel, but the 3776 is such a fantastic pen to work with, so much fun, and so consistent, so reliable. I just forget how easy it is to work with something that's nice and that I like. So hopefully that comes through in the drawing. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Final thoughts? Well, at this price point, looking at these pens, it's hard to even say I recommend one over the other, because you're really spending a lot of money for a pen at this price. Hopefully my descriptions and explanations of why I chose these pens will have some value to you. Please start a comment in the chat down below. Please let me know if I missed something that I should be paying attention to. Who knows, if I have some cash come in, I might buy another expensive pen, and you'll see it on this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.